Welcome to Selfish Confidence, a place where we can connect and be real about how hard it is to be your damn self. My name is Jess, and my goal is to help you build confidence and belief in yourself to live any life path you want, even if it's unconventional. It's time to flip off societal pressures and connect with women who've also felt on the outside by their life choices. We're here to encourage you to grab the mic and speak your truth. I know it can be scary, but we're in this together. Let's get started.
Right.
Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Selfish Confidence Podcast. It is a fun day over here because I have my very good friend, Lea Coultas, with us. Welcome, Leah. Welcome to the podcast.
God. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to dive into your story and just chat a little bit more and get to know you on a different level and share that with the people listening today, because I think you have a story that is really going to impact people listening. And there's someone listening to this today who needs to hear Leah's story. And that's why you're here. You ready?
Excellent. Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do this.
So I know this is a really, really big question and people often get stumped when I say it, but answer it in however you feel most confident. So just like, I can go back to a year ago. I can go back to 10 years ago, whatever you want to do. But tell us about you, Leah, and what led you to sharing your story and living your life out loud.
Well, my name is Lea Coultas, as you just said, and I am 44 years old. I have been born and raised in St. John's, Newfoundland. I currently reside in downtown St. John's with my cat, Izzy, my senior cat, who I love dearly. I would say that I call myself these days a movement motivator. So I am someone that I'm a certified yoga teacher. I am a DJ / playlist curator, a performer, music singer. So I basically have taken all of those facets of things and created this thing called the Elevated Experience, which is, a movement class. And it's a place where I try to create safer spaces for people to want to move their bodies to music is sort of like the simplest way to put that. But as far as me and what led me here, oh my God. Well, basically I've been, oddly enough, a shy person my entire life, very quiet. I was an only child, and I was someone who very much lived my life behind the scenes, someone who really didn't like being seen. Even though there was a part of me always, even as a child, that wanted to be seen, but I was always so fearful and so shy to show that side of myself. So basically what I wanted to do was to be able to live my life out loud as an adult, so that I could help other people learn to live their lives out loud as well, and to sort of let go of those fears and become their best, most confident selves. Because I feel like even though I'm not the most confident person, I can certainly channel that energy and a lot quicker now than I used to be able to. So
it's interesting that you say that too. Like, I'm not the most confident person because I'm a freaking confidence coach and I don't feel that way. Like, I don't feel like I'm the most confident person in the world at all. And you can still show up and do your thing and stand in your truth and not feel confident in it. Which I think, even Leah, you yourself, sending me a message. Leah messaged me. She's like, I want to come on your podcast. And I was like, girl, yes. And that took courage to do it, but also some level of confidence to know you have a story that needs to be heard. And even if you don't feel confident all the time, it's still a confident to take one step or even to start a business. So what made you flip the switch and want more in your life?
Oh, wow.
These questions are big.
Yes.
We're not playing small today.
What made me want to flip the switch? I mean, really, because I was playing small for my entire freaking life. Mm-hmm. I was someone that fresh out of high school, I went into university not knowing what the hell I wanted to do. I just did it because everyone else was doing it. I had no goals, no aspirations to be anything. And I really think that was part of me playing so small my entire life and being so quiet and so shy and just not knowing myself. So all through my 20s, I got my government job when I was 20 years old. I quit university, and basically throughout my entire 20s, I was supporting myself and in a job that paid well, and it was a government job. And so I was sort of following all the steps, found my ex-husband, he is now my ex at the time, and got married and bought the big house and had the life that I thought I wanted to live. But there was just something missing. And I really didn't know what that was until I started to dig a little deeper. And that was through, yoga and connection and music that I started to realize I I was not happy. I didn't know who I was. And it was through me following what I was supposed to, sort of like the template of what society tells us to be and what society tells us to do, that led me down a path of a life that seemed great on the outside. Even to my own self, I was like, I should be happy. Like, what the hell's going on here? I got all the things. I did all the things, but I'm still depressed and suicidal and feeling like I want to die. And, I know that's like a big thing to say, but that's the truth of it. And it was through the pain of suffering through that in silence, I knew I needed to literally flip something in my life. And that was sort of where I guess the motivation came, was through that entire experience, and getting to basically my lowest of lows, emotionally and mentally. I knew I just needed to do some radical changes, radical, I guess, self exploration, trying to figure out, what do I need here in this puzzle that I'm trying to figure out. And that puzzle that was missing was me. So,
ooh, yeah. It's interesting too. Like, as soon as you said it, I had the government job and I'm like, oh yeah, that's what they tell us is the dream, especially here, like in the East Coast of Canada, like, and I'm sure it's everywhere, right? You have that 9 to 5 secure job with the pension, with all the things, like you should be happy. And I'm sure you had influence around you, even if it's from even just like grandparents, but like being like, that's the dream. Who wouldn't want that? Everybody wants that. Sit in that chair until you're 60 and then you can live your life, right? And then same with like getting married and doing all the things and checking the boxes. I was right there on the same path as you, and it doesn't feel good, right? It's great for someone else, and maybe even someone listening to this has that path and they love it. I'm so happy for you. You found your truth, but it's not Leah's and it's not mine. So like what is the dream?
I mean, the dream is to be happy. And I know that sounds really like, that's obviously like a very big blanket statement. But, for me, I needed to find happiness in the simpler things. I needed to sort of break down what I was looking for, if the comfortable living, financial stability, and the quote unquote perfect marriage, perfect home, and all the things, if that wasn't going to do it for me, then what was? And the thing is that all those things are great to have, but when you're missing you on the inside, none of those things are going to matter, So it really was coming back to myself and connecting back to me. And for me, I know it's different for everybody, but for me, it was my exploration with yoga that really helped me to connect a little deeper with my own body and my own mental health, which was something I was desperately needing.
And when did that process start for you? Was it something that you're like, I signed up to become a teacher, I went to a yoga class, or was this still within your marriage? Was this after your divorce? Like, when did you like say like, I'm gonna do some yoga?
Well, what's interesting is my father is actually very spiritual, and he was actually the one that convinced me to go to my first yoga class. And I was married and in the government job at the time, but he knew I was struggling, and I was just a shell of myself. But yet on the outside, I hid it well, like my friends didn't know, my husband didn't know, nobody knew, but my dad knew that something was not right. And so he had suggested, why don't you come to this yoga class? I'm taking this yoga, and it was a different kind of yoga. It was Kundalini, which was a little more intense in the meditation aspect of it. And so I went to my first class and I cried my eyes out, and I said, I will never go back. I remember leaving that class and thinking, hell no, like that was way too much emotion for me, because I had been the poster child for my emotions were like back here. Like I was not dealing with anything, and I didn't want to deal with anything. So I guess fast forward like a month later, and I realized I maybe had to try to explore that again. And so I went back to that class, and I just kept going back, and I kept crying, and I kept feeling, and it was through the emotion, it was through the connection that I realized I was really missing that in my life. And big part of it was because I'm such a sensitive person, and I'm someone that can cry on a dime, especially now that I've opened the floodgates. I was feeling like I was helping everybody else by not expressing emotion. So whether that was anger or sadness or any of the things, I just wanted to protect everybody from that. I felt like that was a burden. I didn't want to put that on anyone. I was the strong Leah, always. To me, crying was weakness. To me, crying showed that I didn't have my shit together. So I really just didn't want to show that side of myself. I needed to feel, and I needed to deal with some heavy stuff that I had been pushing down for a very long time. So yeah, so it was through attending yoga classes and being very committed to it that basically brought me to the place of feeling confident enough and comfortable enough to say peace to the government job and peace to the marriage and peace to all the things. But that took years of chipping away at, my insides.
You make it sound so chill. I was just like, oh, peace to my job, peace to my marriage, peace to societal standards, just like peace. Everything's good.
Oh man, it was not that. I mean, oh yeah. As I'm like alming in the corner, I was like, bye everything, bye old life. No, it was definitely not that. It took years of the connection. But it was also, like I said, I was in the thick of depression. I was in the thick of the suicidal thoughts and all the things. I was medicated, and I was thinking that I had a chemical imbalance. And honestly, it was through the yoga class, but then also my dad, again, convinced me to go see Tony Robbins in Unleash the Power Within, this conference that he was having in Chicago. And so I went to that as well. And it was really sort of through that experience that I was like, oh, there's other ways of living. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can choose to be happier by doing something different. And maybe I'm a product of some circumstances in my life versus this being a chemical thing that I have in my brain that is wrong with me. Because I think for a long time, I just thought there's something wrong with me. There's something wrong with me. I kept convincing myself that I was in the lack, with respect to the chemistry in my brain. I just thought I was sick. And so I kept wanting to medicate myself, and the doctors just kept prescribing me more and more medication in order to, and it kept me numb. It kept me like a zombie.
Yeah. And I think too, like in the world that we live in, like it's almost easier for it to be that, right? It's easier for it to be a chemical imbalance. It's easier for it to be something's wrong with me versus something's wrong with the situation I'm in, because it probably was a lot to freaking flip the table and like piece everything in your life. It's way harder to do that than to pop a pill, to do something very simple, to go to the doctor and get another medication. So for you to finally go to this conference and your eyes to be open and be like, oh, shit, I can do something about this. It's like a light bulb moment of like, yes. And also a light bulb moment of like, oh my gosh, like that's huge. Yeah.
Like I realized after that, I was like, I have a lot of work to do. And I didn't even really know where to start. So, coming back from that conference, it's not like the very next day was like, beep, beep, beep. Okay. Hi, government job. I'm out. But I did, things sprung into action pretty quickly, because it was that summer that I went to that conference. And then it was the fall that I basically put in my notice and realized like, I need something else. Each process, the leaving of the government job, which was huge, because I've been there for 16 years, and people were like, you are crazy. Like, you're 16 years in at this point. Like, why would you turn your back on that now? When you only have, because we were doing the numbers at this point, it's like, oh, you only have 14 more years left. I'm like, that's 14 years. Are you guys kidding me right now? You guys make that sound so small.
It is. It's small in comparison, but like,
yeah, but it's like 14 years of unhappiness. Like, I'm literally ready to die now. So it's like, if I have to go through 14 years of this mental hell, no, I'm sorry. This is not where I want to be in my life. I want more for myself. I want better for myself. I want to be happy. I want to feel something better than this. So yeah, so it was through that action that, transpired me working in a wellness center. So it was through working at the wellness center that I, kind of had a mentor there. She was a yoga teacher. And so I was taking her classes regularly. And through that, I started to actually think about, okay, well, maybe I'll do some teacher training. So, and that's when my traveling started as well. So I went to Costa Rica for my very first teacher training. And it was a kids to teens yoga teacher training. And it was through that my eyes were open again to another possibility. So it was through those things. And then I guess getting the courage to then realize that my marriage was also a place that I didn't feel happy and fulfilled, and that we were sort of, it just wasn't going to go or get any better. I thought maybe the government job was the answer, but once I left that and realized that I still wasn't happy, I thought, okay, well, maybe my relationship is also a product of my unhappiness. And so that was really the thing. Once that was over and the government job was over, and then I was on my own as a 38-year-old woman, I can tell you one thing. I really had to come to terms with not the shame. Shame's not the right word, but I really did go through a process of grief where I thought, oh my God, I'm starting my life over at 38. What am I going to do? Like, how am I going to do that? Like, I'm too old, quote unquote. I know I'm not technically old, but like I'm older in the sense of like where my life is supposed to be at this point. So I really had to come to terms and grieve the idea that I had for myself, the life I thought I wanted. And it was from that perspective that I really was like, I want to be helping people, because for me, I don't have the typical yoga body. Like, I would go into yoga studios and say, I don't belong here. Like, this isn't where I should be. But it was through that connection that I was able to actually save my life and become a more happier, fulfilled person. So really, at the end of the day, that was all I wanted, was to create safer spaces for people to feel their emotions, move their bodies, feel good doing it, and understand that everyone has a place in this world, and everyone deserves to feel happy, and everyone deserves to feel love and acceptance, and and to feel safe.
Wow. Yeah. It's interesting too, because hearing this, and I know pieces of your story too, it's like it sounds very simple, right? Oh, I went to a yoga class and I traveled a bit and I left my husband, no big deal. I'm older now, no big deal. And like, it does essentially feel that way. And like, I know that's not your truth, right? Like, there was definitely a lot more layers to it and a lot more turmoil in it and difficulty in it and fear in it. So can we talk about that when it comes to your business, life, divorce, travel, all of these things that we're facing in this world? Like, you pick, but like, where did you find the courage to show up for yourself despite there being fear present?
There's always been fear present. And to be honest, it's been debilitating fear. So, I gave up music. Like, when I was with my ex-husband and when I was working the government job, music was something I used to dabble in a little bit, performing and all that. But because I was so fearful of performing in front of crowds, I just gave it up. I simply quit. I was like, I can't.
Performing in what way?
So singing and playing guitar in front of people.
Cool.
Yeah. And so singing has always been something I've loved doing. Like, growing up as a child, I was always in choir and different things like that. But performing in front of people was next level. That was like a full-on, full body, like, I am getting ready to convulse. I don't know what I'm going to do in order to get up the courage to get up on this stage. So I was doing it for a while in my 20s, and then I let fear take over, and I just said, peace. I'm not doing this anymore. So it was 12 whole years where I didn't do that anymore. And like I said, it was through facing the fear of quitting the government job, facing the fear of leaving the relationship that I was unhappy in. I started to take action. I started to just have the mindset of, I can't keep thinking, I need to just start doing. So I immediately booked myself in a coffee shop and said, I need to perform. I need to perform a gig. I just need to do this one. Doing my teacher training, I was like, I need to start teaching in front of people. I need to just do this. Let's just book the class, start advertising. Let's just do the thing. And so it really was through me just ripping the Band-Aid off and forcing myself to do things that I knew in my heart I was called to do. It was the practice of doing it that I was able to overcome fear after fear after fear. But I'm still fearful all the time.
I was going to say, are you still feeling the fear? Because you're in, you've been working on this business and doing these things, and like, is there still fear present in your life?
100%. Yeah. And
same.
yeah. And what I've noticed is that, I guess that was sort of the lesson I learned, like the 12 years of giving up performing. I thought it was because I wasn't meant to do that. I thought that what that fear meant at that time was that, oh, like, this isn't normal. Like, people don't just get sick and like are fearful of something all week long and then get up on the stage and do the thing. And this can't be a normal emotion. So therefore I shouldn't be doing it. But it was really after the hiatus, and then diving into it again and feeling all those fears like come up again, I was like, okay, it's not an age thing. It's not a maturity thing. Like, this is literally just a fear thing. And in order for you to get over it, you just need to keep facing it. And so, yeah, the fear still comes, but I do find what I can focus on now is the outcome. I always know that the outcome is going to be more success. It's going to be more, and I don't mean success as like in a financial way. I just mean success for my own self to feel, you did that, girl.
Oh yeah, I do. I do know what you're talking about because I feel it too. And it's funny because this morning I was journaling and it was the first time that I wrote like I have a couple events coming up that I'm speaking at and I'm like, why am I not scared? Like this is the first time ever. And I've been doing this for a really long time. I know it's going to come. I'm just like waiting for it to come. But it's just interesting because I would love for us to have like a line of like super successful people in this world and for us to look at them and be like, are you scared? And they'll be like, hell yeah. Like, yeah, I'm scared. Like, there's no way you can build business and do if you're not scared, like it's not big enough, right? Like,
yeah, and that's the thing, and part of that is it's the passion. Like if you're feeling the nerves and all that, that's part of you actually caring about what it is that you're about to do, and you care about the people that you're going to present it to, and you have, you know, you have passion. I feel like that's, you know, if it came without fear, then what would be the point? Like we wouldn't grow from that. And we grow through feeling that fear and doing it anyway. And there's no better adrenaline rush than, you know, standing up on that stage after feeling the fear and getting through it and then coming down afterwards and being like, hell yeah, like that's, you know, it's definitely confidence boosting. And like I said, I'm not saying you have to like run out and go on a stage in order to like be successful in life and or get over fears, but like everyone has a fear of something. In some cases, it's even just getting out of your house and walking around the block. For me, when I was at my worst depression, you know, there were certain things like fear was getting up in the morning, facing the day. Fear was like, can I have the capacity to get a shower today? Like it was literally that dark of a place to be. And so again, like coming back to sort of my why and why I want to do this is to really just show people from a beginner's mindset and from a place of unworthiness. Like I really just didn't feel like I was worthy to be in these types of spaces and to be doing these types of things. But it came from my authenticity and me really just wanting to help other people. I feel like I'm able to do that by showing them from the perspective that I've been in. Like I wasn't just, you know, born and raised yogi. I really had to teach myself the discipline and to get into those classes and force myself into those spaces that to me, I didn't feel like as being a curvy figured girl, someone that wasn't flexible. I really had to force myself into those spaces and get comfortable with the uncomfortable and not feeling like I fit in, you know?
and we talk about that a little bit too. So as you know, this podcast is all about like living unconventional lives and doing things differently. And you live that in so many different ways, business owner, divorce, you know, older and single and now, you know, body image and all of these pieces that come with this unconventional life. And I think like one thing that some people who listen to this are going to be able to relate to each and every one of those. And you stand in that truth so beautifully. I know it's hard for you sometimes, but like I can see you and be like, oh my gosh, like Leah's freaking doing the damn thing. And I love it so much.
Thank you.
But like, let's talk about that. Like, how do you feel about this unconventional life that you're living? What do you love about it? And what has been a challenge that comes up maybe with societal pressures or norms or people like your family? Like what challenges have you faced with doing life differently?
For me, it really is just my own judgment on myself, and my harshest critic is me. So it's like I tend to get down on myself at times when I think about the societal things, quote unquote, like the fact that I am 44 and I am single and I'm like, you know, this is another part of my story, which we haven't talked about on this podcast, but this is something I'm very open to sharing, was that I declared bankruptcy back in 2020. And that was a very huge, you know, in the moment felt like a big life fail. But really it was my businesses that were sort of born through that experience. And so, yeah, I mean, there's times where I'm so proud of myself and I stand in my truth and I'm like, man, I'm living the life. But there are days that I do get lonely and I do feel the pressure of age. And, you know, this year I decided to grow out my gray hair. I've been really just trying to like embrace all parts of me. It's been a challenge. I feel like I truly am just shedding all these layers of the societal pressures, especially as women, that we face with looking a certain way, acting a certain way, you know, me being, me not having children. That's been another thing to sort of, I don't feel like I have to explain it as much now. I feel like people just understand now not to ask those types of questions, but it's like, wow, you're single and you're not married and you don't have children. Like, what do you do? What do you do with your life?
Right.
I'm like, well, I do a lot of things. I'm like, but I can get bogged down in those thoughts of myself too, you know? So yeah, I mean, I love the life that I live. I'm the most happiest I've ever been. I'm the brokest I've ever been. But I really, it's been through stripping all those things away from me and living this simple life and also and creating business and these classes for people that has really shaped the person that I am and has helped me become more of the confident woman that I've always wanted to be.
Isn't it interesting to see that, like, stripping away everything? Because even when you were talking earlier, like, I just picture this rebirth of Leah, and it's like stripping everything away was how you found yourself. We always think we need more, more, more. I need a bigger house. I need the nicer car. I need the better paying job. I need the hottest partner. Like, more, please. I'll take it. And for you, it was coming back to just nothing. Was where you found yourself.
I remember when the bankruptcy, so it happened just before COVID, which is interesting. So it was January of 2020 and I declared bankruptcy. And then I remember moving into a 400 square foot apartment downtown, and it had a Murphy bed that folded into the wall. I had my 2 cats, and I remember thinking, wow, I have nothing. Like I got rid of everything. And I remember thinking to myself, I had the moments of shame of being like, I have failed at everything that I possibly could. And I remember moving into that small little space and kind of having my little pity party for a little while. And then COVID hit, and it was like, holy crap. Okay. My mindset shifted completely from the lack to the abundance. And it was just like, I have to take this as a sign that all that happened for a reason. And in this moment, I am now free from the debt, and I'm able to actually cultivate space in my mind to create. And so it was actually through that my virtual yoga business was born, which was a business I had before, which was Gentle Yoga with Leah. And I was able to create that in that headspace. And I can guarantee you, when you strip away all the things that you think you need in your life and you put it right back to basics, and you start connecting with what's the most important thing, which is you, you can really create quite a bit from that space.
We were talking about this too, like right before we hopped on, because even you like talking about this in this apartment reminded me of our conversation about travel too, where it's like, I used to travel all over. I used to all the things. And it became to this point of having such a love and acceptance for where we live in the East Coast of Canada. And maybe it's small, but it's like one of this like exceptional levels of gratitude to live where we do. And Leah and I live in different provinces, but we live on the East Coast near the water, and it's absolutely beautiful. And yeah, it's just this moment of clarity. Like, I don't need to travel more. Like, I'm very content where I am. And I love hearing that, and that transition from I have nothing, my life sucks, to I have everything I could ever need right here in this room. And I think there's someone listening right now who's in the middle of that transition, maybe from seeing their life in a different way, seeing that maybe because they do things differently or they're living life differently, that it's okay. It's sometimes we feel that like pressure of should, right? Like I should be wanting more, but like I'm grateful for where I am or what I have. If you were to talk to that person who's listening right now, who's kind of in that phase that maybe you were in a few years ago, or they're struggling to see gratitude in this season, what would you tell them?
I mean, if you're struggling to see gratitude, I mean, I definitely recommend things like, I know this might sound cheesy, but like the gratitude journal, which is like something that I had started to plug into, like just every day, just writing down a couple of things that brought me joy throughout the day. I did find that doing that and sort of recognizing things that were actually good in my life, because we can get really bogged down in the negative. We really can think, oh my God, I need this, I need that. It really was bringing it back to the simplicity, but writing it down that really helped me. And just knowing that you are a beautiful human being and that you are enough exactly as you are, and really just trying to build that acceptance around your body, around your surroundings, like whatever it is. If you have a passion in you or a drive in you to change things, you have the ability to do it. And it's not just gonna, like the government job, quitting the job and leaving the marriage may not be the place for you to start. For me, that was a pretty drastic thing, but there is something you can do, small things that you can do in your life every single day to help connect you back to you, whether it's hiking in nature or whether it's putting yourself in that class that you've been dying to try, but you've been too afraid. That was the big thing for me. Putting myself in studios was a huge fear of mine. Like being surrounded by people that I thought were physically fitter than me, that were maybe better than me, quote unquote. I'm using quotations because I always kind of looked at everyone on the outside like they were better than I was and that I didn't belong in these spaces. But it was through putting myself in those spaces and realizing that every single person in that room is fearful. Every single person in that room has the same insecurities as you. They may look better. You may feel like that person's like 50 pounds lighter than me, so therefore they have nothing to worry about or nothing to be concerned of. That is not the truth. They are just as hateful to themselves. People, no matter what they look like, no matter how it appears on the outside, every single person has something that they're going through. And so it's really when you can start to plug into that and start putting yourself into those spaces that you really start to see the changes in your life.
Yes. I think it's so special to look at each person with like those blinders off, because we look at other people's lives and we're like, okay, they got all together. Like they are fit. They have the perfect hair. It's all about appearances because that's what society told us mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I hate that is still like rings true for so many of us. Even listening to this podcast, I'll be like, I do this all the time, right? You look in the mirror and you're like, if only then I would be insert the things that we tell ourselves.
And I lived there for years. I lived there for my entire life. The diet culture in particular, it's like, if I could just lose 10 more pounds, if I could just lose 20 pounds, if I could just lose the cellulite, everything was usually about appearance. And, for women, I feel like we especially have that feeling. It's appearance based. And, our bodies, I remember hearing this in a coaching thing that I did once. And the woman said, your body is the least interesting thing about yourself. Like your body, your appearance is the least interesting thing about yourself. And I thought, oh my God, we put so much value into how we look. And it really is the least interesting thing. Think about all that's underneath that, all the personality, all the creativity, all the blood, sweat, and tears, all the beauty. Like there's just so much that's inside all of us that, we tend to get caught up in this comparison game. And social media, I realize, has heightened that so much. But every single person, it was really something I discovered when I went into my first yoga class in Costa Rica. And the moment that I walked in and I was surrounded by all these beautifully fit women and having that feeling of lack and like I didn't belong. It was through actually bonding with those women and actually hearing them speak and how, they were also feeling the same as me. It was really my aha moment, was to really put myself back in my place and be like, wow, I wanted to be like them. I wanted to look like them, but they feel just the same about me. And that was something that we all shared, was that, it's the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And
knowing that it comes in waves, I think is really special too. Like some days we're going to feel like really freaking good. And as women, this is linked to our menstrual cycles too. Like we're going through the waves every freaking day. And it's just how our emotions and our bodies work. And you can look at yourself in the mirror and one day think like, yeah, I look really great. This dress looks so nice on me. And another day you look in the mirror and you're just like, no. It's literally exact same body that was there yesterday. But for some reason, we're not feeling it today. Do you ever feel that way in your business as a yoga teacher? Some days you show up and you're just like, yes, I'm the best yoga teacher in the whole freaking world. And then other days you show up and you're just like, why would anyone come to my classes?
Oh yeah, 100%. I feel like because I am a yoga teacher, I'm supposed to be like this guru or something. And it's like, if I'm at home, like watching Love Island and eating McDonald's, I'm like, oh my God, if people only knew what I'm doing. I'm not supposed to be doing these things. I'm not supposed to be like eating crap and watching crap and thinking crap things. I'm just human. It's like we're all human beings, just doing the best we can, and that's all you can do is just show up as authentically you. And I feel like that's the part of my classes that is unique. It's like and now, I feel like I have let go of the yoga side of things. Like my dance classes are a kind of a combination of yoga and dance mixed together. Because for me personally, I just find the most joy in music. In listening to music and then moving with music. We mentioned Tony Robbins earlier. You can't tell me that there's, not moments in his life where he feels less than. And it's like we all just put these people on pedestals and just assume that their lives are ticking along, and yes, they have probably a lot more tools in their tool belt to help them through. But I mean, and that is the key to it, really. At the end of the day, is you needing enough tools in your tool belt to kind of pull at throughout your day when you're feeling at your lowest. Because yes, I definitely look at myself in the mirror some days, or I show up on social media and I post my dance video and I think, oh my God, I picked myself apart. And then I think I could easily just not post this right now. But why would I do that? I need to hit send or hit share or whatever it is, just so that someone out there can look at me and think, okay, she's doing it, so maybe I can do it too.
Yes. Yeah. And I had this moment, I think it was last weekend, and my husband and I, we were out shopping and we were getting an outfit. We were doing anniversary photos, and I had a really hard time in the store. Whereas normally I can feel like pretty good. I hate shopping. I'll just preface that. So like going in, I want to go in, get the outfit and like get out. Like I just like hate the trend. It's just not fun. I find it really boring.
I'm the same. Yeah.
And it's extra not fun with my husband there too, because then I'm like, I'm wasting his time. I'm wasting my time. This just sucks. But anyway, had to find something to wear. And now we're getting into fall colors. This is a whole other side of it, because like, I don't want fall clothes. I want summer clothes. We always shop in the wrong season. Anyways, trying to find something to wear. And we finally found something. And I was like, ugh. And I got back in the car. It wasn't great, but it could work. I hate going into a photo shoot with something that's not, I won't say perfect, but like that feels like me. I want to feel like me in the photos. And I got in the car and I started crying. And it's not because the shopping experience or that we didn't find something. It was like, I'm a freaking confidence coach and I feel like crap in the change room today. And it was just me putting this extra pressure on myself that didn't need to be there, right? We are all human. We all face these things. We're all going to go through these ebbs and flows of how we feel about ourselves. And it was just a really like one of those clarity moments of like, okay, like it's not going to be perfect. And that's a beautiful thing too. And I love to share that on these things and for people to see, same for you, because people are going to look at your videos after this episode and just be like, wow, Leah has it all together. Leah's doing the damn thing. Like Leah is like fire. That's how I feel when I see your stuff, right? And maybe that's how you feel when you see my stuff, because we can look at other people and see like, wow, they're doing it and they're so freaking cool. It's interesting when we can do that for ourselves. It's a lot harder to do that for ourselves.
It is a lot harder. And I think that the thing is too, that we all have to realize, and this is where like the compassion comes in. It's like, we have to realize that we're dealing with years and years and years, and not just like our lifetime, but like our parents, like generational stuff that we've been brought up in. The pressure has been there all along. So that stuff's not just going to fall away when you take a yoga class or when you do a meditation or when you like you take a coaching course. I think that was a big misconception for me. I think once I like left the government job and once I left the husband and then I started diving into certain things, I was like, okay, well, everything's just going to be perfect now. Like, I'm just going to be great. Like now that I've done the hard part of standing up to this thing and quitting this thing or whatever, I was like, everything's just going to be great. And so when I had my first major low, after the marriage, after I felt like I had grieved that loss, it really hit me hard because I thought I had done all the things. Like at that point, I was traveling the world. I was doing workshops all over. I was in Thailand. I was in Costa Rica. I was in Spain. I was really just living my best life, we'll say, spending all the money because clearly the bankruptcy came after that. And I remember being like, well, when the bankruptcy hit, I really was just like, oh my God, once I hit that major low, it hit me like a wall, and I didn't know how to deal with that at the time. But it's really, and I've had lows since then, and I've had high highs, and it's like it never stops coming. Like life is hard. It's just understanding that, it's like life is hard. You do the work, the work doesn't stop, but you do have to stop and smell the roses every now and then. You do have to stop and actually be present in life and just enjoy what's happening right in front of you versus always trying to strive and get to the next thing.
The work never stops.
It never
and
stops.
even when you're the teacher or when you're the coach, it doesn't stop. Because I'm the same as you. I thought that I'd get here and I'd be like, oh yeah, like I know what I'm doing. No, we don't. We're still figuring it out. We're still learning. But I love the concept of like stopping and smelling the roses, like just being grateful where you're at, the stop that you're at, and how you're gonna keep going forward. Can you tell our listeners where they can connect with you, Leah? Like, where can they find you? Can they find your classes? Is it just in person? How can they attend a class? Give us all the things.
Yeah. So right now, the Elevated Experience is my handle on Instagram and on Facebook. So you can find me on both of those places. Yeah. Right now, my classes are only in person. So there was a point over COVID where I was offering sort of the yoga dance virtually, but it just really didn't translate in the same way. And I'm still sort of learning and evolving as well as to what this is going to be for me. I'm really I'm doing pop-up events and different things. Like this Friday night, I have an ecstatic dance event coming up with a DJ, and we're sort of decking it out like Costa Rica, like the jungle. And it's like a sober dance event, so something different than like going downtown. So I'm really just kind of diving into a little more of that, like my movement and my music. Yeah.
I wish I was in St. John's so that I could come because I want to go to this sober dance party. Like that sounds like the best time for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that we don't have enough of around, It's like, I don't want to wait till midnight for a DJ to start playing downtown and me to be surrounded by super drunk people. Like I used to do that. I don't want that anymore. Like I want to dance. I still want to dance, and I want to do it in a respectful setting and in a safe setting, and drink some kombucha after.
Yeah, it sounds like a good time. I'm with you. And preferably if it ends by like 9-10 p.m. Like,
yeah,
perfect. I am
this is
so
like
there.
It's from 8 to 10 on Friday. No, 8 to 11 on Friday night. So, it's
perfect.
like, yeah.
I love it so much. Yeah. So I will put all your information in the show notes for people to be able to go and check you out. And if you are in St. John's, you need to go hook up with Leah and go check out these classes, because do it for me, because I really want to be there so bad. Leah's a flight away, so I won't be able to make it, but I will be there someday, which is really exciting. I have some questions that I ask every guest that comes on the podcast. You ready?
Yes.
Ooh, what is your favorite compliment to receive?
I do love the fact that people think I have a really good taste in music. That is something that I like. But one of my favorite compliments I think I've received recently was through my classes. Someone actually told me that they've never felt so accepted and so loved in a first class before. It felt like they were in a safe space. And I really just took that to heart. That was something that really meant a lot to me.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Like that's a really nice one. Both of them. You do have a great taste in music. I've gone to some of Leah's events. She's got good taste in music. I remember when we were going to the Shift, just the one this year, and I told you the song. I'm like, play this song when I'm going up on stage. And you were like, no, I'm not playing that. I'll pick something better for you. You legit said like, no. And I was like, okay.
I remember listening to it and being like,
no,
the lyrics just don't match you. Like I was just,
I just like the countdown part of that song. I was like,
totally.
yeah, like I want to go but no, Leah said no. She said, you suck. I'm picking a song for you. And then I blacked out and I didn't remember what song you picked. Later that night, you were like, hey, did you like the song? And I was like, what was it?
I don't remember.
I blacked out.
It was, what was it? Meghan Trainor.
It was Meghan Trainor. It was a good one.
Yeah, because it was all about, looking at yourself in the mirror and being like, don't you want to be me? Like, that's just like...
It was a good choice. You did good. So she does have great taste in music, and she will tell you when yours sucks.
I feel so bad now that I said that, but it really came from a place of love.
You know what? No,
because I got you.
We all have skills, right? And your skill is music. And I think if you can just be real with that and be like, hey, I know better than you. I will take it. I'm totally you go, girl. You do know better than me. So it worked out really well. It was a good time.
And all my playlists, by the way, are saved on Spotify. So if you're ever like Lea Coultas, you can just look that up on Spotify, and you can see all the list of playlists there from any event that I ever do. I always post the playlist there in Spotify. So even that Shift event that you were at,
that's awesome.
That playlist is there.
I did listen to the first Shift Event playlist on repeat until I felt confident to like really step into my business. So that's all Leah.
Wow.
Leah is where my confidence came from. Leah's playlist.
Amazing. That's a huge compliment, girl.
There you go. Put that one in your pocket of favorite compliments.
I will.
What is your favorite thing to do to boost your mood when you're feeling grumpy?
Well, if you haven't guessed it already, it's definitely listening to music. So I am a music fiend. Like I'm listening to music from the time I wake up in the morning till the time I go to bed. So that is really the thing. Like I utilize music to feel in every facet. So if I'm feeling depressed, sometimes I'll put on depressing music just to cry it out. But to boost my energy, it's definitely anything that's like high energy, Beyonce, electronic dance music. I am a little bit of an EDM head. So like house music, techno, all that kind of stuff I really am into. So anything that's got a good positive lyric in there, pop that puppy on and just have a little dance for myself, even if it's just for 2 minutes, like that will just totally change my energy.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you have a song in particular or a quote that boosts your confidence?
I don't have a specific song, but just trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, that one's a good one. Me Too by Meghan Trainor is a great one if I'm ever trying to like sort of boost my morale in the moment. As for quotes, no, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head. Yeah.
That's okay. You can go check out Leah's playlists and I'll put them in the show notes and that will tell you all the songs that boost her confidence because
there's a lot there. Yeah. There's over 52. I think there's 52 playlists there now that I've created in the last year. Stuff.
I love it. Thank you so much, Leah, for being here and for sharing your truth and just being so real with us. It really, really means a lot that you feel safe to be able to share your story here.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
I love you.
Yeah, I love you too, girl.
What's up, sis? I am so glad we could hang out today. If you love this episode, send it to a friend or share it on your social media and tag me so I can personally thank you for helping me sprinkle some confidence in the world. And don't forget, you are magic. Let's show the world your shine.